About refugee crisis or migration crisis or migrant crisis, we are actually probably meaning many things, more than we assume. What I try to do is to unpack a bit the different meanings that the word crisis in a way can highlight, and also different actors that play with these words and what role they play, what kind of they try to achieve through it. The first time that we started talking about a crisis is in October 2013, responding to the shipwreck just offshore of Lampedusa. So it was October 2013. At that point, over 300 people died, very close to the Italian coast. As a response to that, there was a call for an intervention. So the response was, we cannot allow people to die at sea. So it was very much a humanitarian response, guided by the fact that we cannot allow people to die. At that point, there was no necessarily, for example, an understanding that these people were refugees or they were economic migrants. It was all about saving people from dying. But then, a few months later, when we have the case of Alan Kurdi, the young boy that died on the shore of Turkey, and then we have the thousands of people that start to cross from Turkey to Greece, then we found out they were coming from Syria, for example. By far the largest part of the people that arrived were about almost 500,000 people came from Syria through that route. And clearly the story that we're coming with was a story of civil war or persecution, or having to leave the house because there was bombing happening. This was the time when Russia started to help the Assad regime and bomb the opposition. So in that case, it's a refugee crisis in many ways, but it's a crisis that is different from what we saw in the central Mediterranean. Syrians in 2005 were just about the 5% of the people that crossed from Libya to Italy, while there were about 56% on the other side. So we have different stories here, and what we need to think about is how we can respond to these different stories. The risk is that European policy only address the issues of one group and exclude another. And what I'm trying to do is to unpack this, to show that there are different needs, different routes, there are different journeys, different experiences, but also different kind of a response that can be put in place. The response has changed according to the route and over time. In general, we had, especially in 2013, 14, 15, very much a call for the EU to take more responsibility. So it was mostly the border countries like Italy and Greece that called for help. When this help came, then problems start to come up. So in a sense, partially Italy and Greece were not happy with too much involvement by the European Union and its institution on the ground. But also there was the crisis of solidarity emerged, when basically the other northern and central European states start to refuse to accept people to be relocated. So this is another crisis, the crisis of solidarity, which highlighted in the end another even bigger crisis, which is the crisis of the EU as a political project. The lack of solidarity, the lack of contribution by a number of states highlights a tension within the political project, which is much bigger than the refugees and the migrants. What is happening at the moment is that the only way that the different member states manage to find some kind of agreement is by closing the routes. So we saw the deal with Turkey, we're seeing the negotiation with Libya. Just a couple of weeks ago, after the Malta summit, there was this promise of a much closer engagement with Libyan authorities. There's been an attempt to build partnership with Niger, obviously there is the one with Morocco, but Tunisia, Algeria and various countries through which people can transit through. So getting them to do the job of the European Union. What I think is important is that we address the issue of the solidarity within the European Union. I think that it's important that even if we try to manage the flow, we are always to stick to our fundamental principle, to the human rights, the protection of human rights. What I'm worried about is that in order to stop the flow of people coming through Libya, the European Union is prepared to close their eyes to human rights violation.